every reason you have a trade association was invoked this year.
Well, one of the great honors of being the tribal elder is that you get to talk about history and then try to relate it to today. And looking back over an arc of 120 years, every one of the eras, if you break it into 40-year eras, has had some type of crisis to deal with. And it just happens that COVID is our crisis. It is the issue the industry's faced in its history that had the greatest potential to wipe out the workers and the companies. And so that getting it declared essential was absolutely the key stroke that allows us to continue and to have a future.
I remember early on thinking about, the way AGC of America was formed. Contractors realized they really weren't organized or well prepared for an emergency or a big, where they needed to mobilize quickly. And of course the same thing applies at the state level and the local level, so that when something does happen, you don't need to figure out how to mobilize or how to communicate. You already have that in place. The infrastructure's already there. At first it was just, it almost seemed mythical. It was like Austin shut down or canceled the South by Southwest Festival, and there weren't any cases. There wasn't, it's kind of like they shut down this huge multi-million-dollar festival, and everyone just kind of thought, and then why would they do that?
Developing news now. Officials in Austin, Texas say the annual South by Southwest Arts and Music Festival has been canceled over fears of the coronavirus.
I will be signing an emergency health declaration for the city of Houston.
The rodeo will be canceled. They'll begin winding down starting today.
The governor says the last time Texas declared a public health disaster was nearly 120 years ago in 1901. The declaration, along with an order from the governor, has implemented a new set of restrictions across the state, similar to what we have here in the Houston area.
And I'll never forget the very first call with the governor, way back when he first declared the emergency, when we didn't really have any cases, is he warned everybody, you're going to see the cases really go crazy, and the numbers will be alarming to you.
At the beginning, it was sort of helter-skelter. One GC would want us to do this, the other would want that.
And so we put together a questionnaire. We'd given a preview of that to some of our subcontractors, and on that Friday prior to, and they were asking questions about, you guys are doing it one way. We haven't really talked to any of the other general contractors in town, but they're all going to have their own set of rules, and we go from job to job. We don't just work on your job full time. So it would be helpful if you guys could get together and put out some guidelines that sort of mirrored each other.
We were getting information from the CDC. We were getting information from our leadership. We were getting information from the state, from the national government, and everybody seemed to have a different story, and this is what you need to do.
What's good about Houston and the general contractors and AGC, we all knew that we needed to work together to make this work.
So that's when I called Jerry and let him know that it would probably be helpful if we got together as an organization and got our leaders together to put together some common best practices for dealing with the virus that we could use on our job sites and in our offices, so there'd be some consistency.
Kim began, corralling and talking to her safety directors. Obviously we have a very robust safety committee here at AGC Houston, and so she had a pretty good well to go to, and large, small, the size of the companies.
Safety directors were texting each other. Man, such as simple as, I've never been asked before, where are you getting your respirators? You know, where are you getting your face coverings? What about your gloves? All that we were all fighting to get for our projects because we still needed to make the project safe.
But we just started getting a lot of good feedback. And of course, with that feedback was a lot of concerns as well. We're going to take temperatures. You can't take temperatures, the things like that. Tamara was kind of our point person on taking that information. We created a separate web page for all things COVID-19.
But it didn't take long for the industry to rally around a set of protocols that everybody adopted and that the owners bought into, as well as the contractors. And it worked very well.
And if you have to remember, at that time, the conversation of essential wasn't really part of the conversation. It was just, what do we do to make the job sites safe for our workers?
We knew that this term essential businesses became the term, like the legal term, and everybody wanted to make sure they were in the essential category, not the non-essential category. So a really big lobbying effort sort of happened by all businesses, trying to make sure, hey, we're essential. But you also had to show that you could still do your work and it not be threatening the public at large or somehow spreading the virus.
Thankfully, having put those practices together, we were ahead of the game, and the AGC could take those practices to the county officials, the government officials, and show them that we figured out how to do this.
That Sunday, when we were having to, that day, within an hour or 2 or 3 hours max, get all this information into the hands of the county judges who were drafting. They were actually drafting the shutdown orders. I was on the phone with Jerry Nevlid multiple times because the Houston AGC had the document about the extra COVID protocols that could be used, that would be used on all the job sites.
Corbin was telling me, he goes, Jerry, if y'all are working on something, you need to get me whatever information you can so that I have that available in my conversation.
We had something extra. It wasn't just, we're an essential business, trust us on this one, like, don't shut us down. It's like, we're an essential business, we can do this safely, and here's how we're gonna do it safely. And bam, it was a Houston AGC document. And that's what Jerry and I were talking about all day. And nobody had that. Like we didn't have that from any other state, from any other area, from any other contractor. So when those appeared quickly and early, boy, those were in demand. Other contractors wanted them. Non-AGC associations wanted them. Heck, non-construction people even wanted some of them. So, and governments wanted them. Everybody was like, well, who's that? Where did you get that document? Give me that. I need that document. They didn't even really care where it came from. They just wanted it. And so the fact that Houston was proactive about it, I think that thing went all over the country, to be honest with you.
We received the order from the county judge.
I'm issuing a stay home, work safe order for Harris County.
If you work in a critical infrastructure industry, you have a special responsibility to maintain your normal work schedule, which is in the best interest of the community.
The Dallas mayor and the Houston mayor are both former legislators. So they have some experience dealing with conflict and making big decisions.
It wasn't one size fits all, because with Sylvester Turner, you got a guy that's been there and back.
We were very fortunate that he in turn was very supportive of the need that we were essential and that we should remain essential during this pandemic. In that week and a half window, a lot of work had gone in, and we were prepared for that.
The Stay Home, Work Safe order exempts essential workers covered in the 16 CISA categories, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency. They are the people who work in transportation and logistics to maintain our safe drinking water, communications and technology, and commercial and residential construction, and many more.
In thinking about this year, and thinking about essential, in our industry, we were deemed essential. And so when you think about that, there's a lot of pride to be found in the fact of all the stuff going on. We were essential to to business, to commerce, to everything going on in our country. We were deemed essential. And I think that's a moniker that we should wear proudly, but I don't think we should ever take that for granted.
We really feel that our industry, more so than ever, gathered together and came up with protocols that protected everyone, probably more so than anyone else would have done. And it was the right thing to do at the right time.
The fact that we had AGC fighting that battle for us, I don't know, I do know, we all couldn't have done it independently.
When you think about what it took for us to get that label, us as an organization, our members and their efforts with everything they did individually, whatever peer groups were working together to try to make sure that we stayed open, all that went into being essential, I don't think you ever cast that aside. And I think as we go forward, and I know as AGC goes forward, whether it's through technology, whether it's whatever components are out there, we should always reference 2020, even though we're all trying to forget the year, reference 2020 and what it meant and what it took as an organization to make sure that we were there. Association business is not essential. What our members do is essential.
For any of us that have been privileged to be part of AGC for long periods of time like I have, it is my conclusion that this was this Houston chapter's finest hour. The confluence of everything an association stands for came together and saved the industry in effect.